Let's talk Oregon Ducks recruiting. We got a big game atmosphere, a primetime kickoff, and game day is in Eugene this weekend. It's the Ducks versus the Buckeyes. And I got Director of Recruiting Chad Simmons to get an early look at what could end up being one of the biggest early season visit weekends so far. We're going to break it all down, but before we get into it, Duck fans, do me a favor right now. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We got a big weekend coming up. We're going to be talking Ducks recruiting for a while. Jump on board, hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in the great Chad Simmons. Now, Jaem Stewart, the five-star corner. He headlines the group coming in. How do we feel about Steward's commitment to Ohio State? Because it's interesting. He's visiting on the Oregon sideline. So what about the Ducks? Is there a shot here to flip him?
Yeah, honestly, Josh, talking about, like you said first about where he stands with Ohio State, what we think about his commitment status. We hear more about Auburn and Oregon probably than Ohio State. He hasn't been back since the OV. There hadn't really been any dates thrown out to me. Maybe the Michigan game or whatnot at the end of the month, but or end of November, I should say. But you hear more about Auburn. I think obviously first and foremost being the in-state school, been there multiple times for games this season. And then Oregon. Oregon obviously piqued his interest for this first visit there to Eugene earlier this year. He's in communication with multiple staffers, including head coach Dan Lanning, and he's very intrigued by Oregon. Just that first visit opened his eyes, and the atmosphere, the environment, obviously the brand of Nike, the opportunities there. He wants to see a game, see game day atmosphere, the environment, watch the team, how they play. He mentioned to me back then that he wanted to see the coaches, players interaction and really kind of see get a deeper dive into the program on this visit. So I think he'll obviously, watch Ohio State, but I think the focus will be on Oregon this weekend. It's their chance to really make a move here.
All right. Now, kind of a reverse order here. We're going to talk about Dallas Wilson. He's committed to Oregon, but much like Jaem Stewart, he's looking around as well. He was at UCF. We know Miami, Texas, FSU. Others would love to flip him. And while he's solid, he is still entertaining others. So, long-time commitment. Where do you think it all stands right now with Dallas Wilson?
Yeah, where I would label offered, I would say maybe a little shaky with Ohio State. I think Wilson's still pretty solid with Oregon. Look, I think he surprised us all being from down in Tampa, Florida, committing to Oregon even before he ever stepped foot in Eugene. He committed to a school all the way across the country. But he's been pretty strong and pretty solid with the Ducks ever since. I think what holds that together is wide receivers coach Junior Adams and head coach Dan Lanning. He FaceTimes with those guys every day. Those guys kick off the morning together. They have conversations about football, non-football. He feels close with that coaching staff. And I still feel good about Oregon in their position right now with Dallas. I still think Miami is the biggest threat. I think they have a big game coming up with Florida State in a few weeks. I would not be surprised if Dallas is in Coral Gables for that game against Florida State. They talk with him almost every day as well. Kevin Beard, Mario Cristobal. You mentioned other schools. He has an OV to Florida State still set for Thanksgiving weekend in November. Texas, Florida. Look, he's a freak playmaker. Any school in the country would love to take him away from Oregon. He'll go back. He'll have a great time, see probably a great game this weekend and come off this trip still feeling good about Oregon. And I think they have to feel good about their position. But until he signs in December, I think you have to watch Miami and those other schools as they continue to try to chip away at his commitment.
All right. What about cornerback Brandon Finny? Now, he's another Duck commit that teams are coming after. And this one, though, it looks like there's one team to watch, and that's Penn State. How important is his visit to Eugene this weekend?
Yeah, very important, Josh. Going back to Offord saying a little shaky. I'd say very shaky with Brandon Finney in Oregon right now. He went to Michigan last month, set up an official visit for November with the Wolverines. But after going to Penn State last weekend for an unofficial visit, there's a lot of buzz around the Nittany Lions there. They've had a lot of success at his high school over the years. He knows some players there in Happy Valley. He likes the coaching staff, sees a good fit. And obviously that's much closer to home for him than Eugene, all the way across the country in Oregon. So this weekend is very big for him. Just kind of the feel for him. Does he like the flight back across the country? Yeah. Is he comfortable in that setting? It's going to be a pretty much big back-to-back weekend for him going from Penn State to Oregon. I think we'll know something pretty quickly coming off this trip to Oregon. Does he feel good about Oregon, kind of shut things down and cancel that trip to Michigan? Does he come back and maybe flip to Penn State? There's a lot of buzz around Penn State. I think, right now, even though he's committed to Oregon, I would give Penn State the momentum. Can Oregon grab that back this weekend? That's the biggest question.
All right. A lot of interesting storylines to follow, and none bigger than Jaem Stewart being on campus. Now, if you don't know who Jaem Stewart is, we've talked about him a lot on this channel this week, so go check out one of those videos. But Chad, this is Jaem Stewart's first official visit since the reclassification, and it seems to me like LSU's probably the team out front right now. So can the Ducks make up the ground on LSU and have a legit shot to land Jaem Stewart?
Yeah, it's depending on who you talk to, you hear about LSU, Ohio State, USC being that top school, but it's a pretty tight group. It seems between those three.
Yeah.
You don't, at least on my end, you don't hear Oregon mentioned as potentially that top school. Lanning and his staff want to change that narrative coming out of this weekend. Look, they've done nothing wrong. They're a top 4 school for a reason. They had him on campus multiple days in June. He worked out with the staff. He's very comfortable there. He knows the people, the brand, sees a good opportunity. But it seems like they do have some ground to make up this weekend. He knows he'll see a great game. He gets to watch not only one, but two of his top 4 schools with Ohio State and Oregon playing in Autzen Stadium. So this is a big weekend for Oregon with Jaem Stewart. I mean, obviously his recruitment has moved up a full year. He'll sign in December. He'll enroll in January. Oregon seems to be 4th, according to sources, on this list right now. Will they be higher this time next week? That's the goal for Dan Lanning this weekend.
Yeah. All right. So as we talk midweek, we know there's going to be a bigger flood of visitors coming in as this game gets closer. But any other names out there that you're hearing right now that Oregon is trying to get to campus this weekend that we need to keep an eye on?
I think a lot of, underclassmen are out there. I mean, one 2025 guy that we saw Dan Lanning fly down the helicopter to see was Noel McHale, Texas A&M commit, Oregon still daily communication there. A&M obviously 5-1, off to a good start here under Mike Elko.
Yeah.
So coming off a big win over Missouri, but that's a name I've heard to watch. Now, right now I'm hearing he's likely not going to be there, but we're still got 3 or 4 days to go now, Josh. So we'll see what happens there. He's a California kid, but Kendra Harrison's number 1 tight end in 2026. He's expected to be there. They had some good 2026 guys on campus last weekend for the Michigan State game. Zion Ely, Jaira Edwards. So Kendra Harrison, a guy trying to make up some ground with against North Carolina and Tennessee there. But I think the big one for 2025 to watch, based on what I'm hearing, is Noel McHale, if they can get him on campus or not.
All right, Duck fans, talk to us. How you feeling about this game? Give us your predictions. Also, if Oregon wins it, who do you think they make up ground with? Who do you think they land? Let us know. Comment section below.